Quarterback play is essential to win at any level of football, from Pop Warner to the NFL. And when you do your job, you deserve your flowers. So, congratulations are in order to Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, who is now 60 minutes away from hoisting up a Lombardi trophy. But every year in the world of college football, we watch as there is a breakout candidate. Some guide their teams deep into the postseason and the conference titles, and others, they set a baseline moving forward. But who are the quarterbacks that are set for surging seasons in 2024? Let's go ahead and discuss today. But if you are new here, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me which quarterback do you think is breaking out. We talk college football every single day over on this channel. Recap in 2023, a look at 2024, transfer portal running rampant, predictions galore. So if this is the type of content you need to survive the dreaded offseason of college football, might I recommend that you smash the subscribe button down below. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football faithful, and just fans of the game in general about this channel, because we're on the race and soon will be. I'm telling you, people, jump on in while the water's fine. The #1 YouTube show talking college football daily. Continue to follow me on social medias at Mr. Cole Thompson, Twitter, X, Instagram. But that way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. Breakout quarterbacks. What exactly does this mean? Well, in some cases, it's a quarterback that is going to solidify everything that we knew about them, but just haven't seen enough on film. And there's going to be players that come out of nowhere and you say, I wonder where that's been all this time. Oh, it's just been hidden underneath the mediocreness of a program and now finally able to shine in the spotlight. Then there's a variety of these quarterbacks. Let's start with the first one, LSU's Garrett Nuss. Nussmeier is a really interesting case because this is a quarterback that many people at this point would have figured, oh, he's transferring. Oh, he was a recruit back in 2021. He sat for 2 seasons underneath Jaden Daniels, and this was a team that added an AJ Swan from Vanderbilt in the offseason. He's going elsewhere. No, he's stuck around. He's been a part of what Brian Kelly has been implementing for the last 2 years, and now it feels like he's ready to strut his stuff. You go back and you watch him in the game against Wisconsin, the bowl game, and it was promising. Nearly 400 passing yards, led his team to a victory, and was able to get the game-sealing touchdown pass. So enough is on film to where you feel confident. Go back to last season. Remember watching him when he was in Atlanta for the SEC title game, and then he played a little bit in the bowl game as well. There's enough inertia there to say, we feel confident in what he can provide. We just got to see it on film. And you know what? This would be a great story because of now it shows you that if you are loyal to a program and you go through the work ethics and you don't quit on yourself, or more importantly, you believe in the process, eventually you will get your spotlight in the sun. That's what it feels like for Garrett Nussmeier. He could be in for a monumental year. Tigers, back-to-back 10-win seasons, but they're looking to get that 10th win during the regular season and not in the postseason. Next up, Nico Iamaleava. That's how you say his name. Don't miscorrect me. I've heard people in the comments before say it's wrong. It's Nico Iamaleava. But what I'm not wrong about, there is going to be a giant difference in the offensive concept from last season to this season. This was like the perfect palate cleanser year for Tennessee in a sense, where you didn't want to overhype yourself too much and give an egregious amount of pressure on this kid going into 2024. But at the same time, there's enough of a baseline to say, our roster with a quarterback like Joe Milton got us to 9 wins. Can you double that or get us to 2 more victories where we are talking about the college football playoff? I don't like looking into bowl syndrome. I think it's stupid. I think it's one of the most overhyped processes when evaluating talent. But you also have to realize that Nico Iamaleava did strut his stuff and put up record numbers against Iowa's defense. This is a Phil Parker-led defense that had 1 opt-out. Everyone else played. They gave up career numbers. I mean, they gave up season highs in total points. They gave up season highs in total yards, in third down conversions, in first down pickups. So Iamaleava is getting a full year in the offseason now to learn underneath Josh Heupel where he is solidified QB1. There's no second guessing. Oh, we have a quarterback battle unfolding. No, it's number 8 is new number 1. And if you give him that time, especially what you bring in, especially guys like Chris Brazzell, who comes over from Tulane, not to mention you don't lose Brew McCoy, you still have Squirrel White on the roster, and what you now have on the offensive line with guys like Lance Hurd, this is just kind of a wash, rinse, repeat type persona back in 2022 when Hendon Hooker was nearly leading your team to a college football playoff. He is a talented enough quarterback to lead you to the big dance. He is a talented enough quarterback to lead you to multiple playoff wins. And it would not shock me to see the Volunteers make that next jump from being quality tier 2 team in the SEC to high-end tier 2 team with tier 1 expectations. How many of you know this name? Cal's Fando Mendoza. Well, if you do, good, because if you are watching Pac-12 After Dark and you are one of the loyalists. But Mendoza was honestly one of the more breakout characters that nobody saw coming. Kid had 14 touchdowns against 10 interceptions, led the Golden Bears to a bowl appearance this past year, fought off reps with Sam Jackson, 6'5", 232 pounds, got the size of what you're looking for to remain in the pocket. Good overall footwork, too. And now he gets a full season, making the jump from the Pac-12 to the ACC. I hate to break it to you, folks, but most years the ACC does provide better defenses than the Pac-12. And last season, there was enough of a baseline to say Mendoza's making the most of his time as QB1, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon either. There's a lot of potential with his accuracy. This past offseason, they added in a few players via the portal, including a wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken, from Utah, not Jonathan Brady. My apologies. Mikey Matthews is coming over from Utah. So you have a baseline. You have your number one returning receiver as well coming back. There's not a lot of expectations, I think, for the Golden Bears. 7-5, 8-4 is probably what you're looking for. But I do think that Mendoza could be a reason why we are talking about the Bears maybe at least flirting with being a top 25 team at some point next season. There's reasons for optimism. Next up, Kansas State's Avery Johnson. There's a reason why Ohio State has a brand new quarterback. His name is Avery Johnson. 5-star talent on multiple occasions last year, took over games in a rotational role as the quarterback, and then gave fans wanting a little bit more, but still was able to claim victory over NC State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. He's an athlete. He is a super hyperactive athlete that just makes the most of incredible situations. And the one thing I will say about him that I'm most intrigued to watch, how is he going to work in an offense not led by Colin Klein? Because this is a quarterback that you would think is going to be built to fit Klein's mannerisms, his ethics, his values of style of play. And now they're bringing in a new OC that maybe differs. Maybe he doesn't want to run a lot of RPO. Maybe he doesn't want to have a lot of quarterback design runs. It doesn't mean you don't need to utilize it, but I will say, I think that there's more underneath the tank with a guy like Avery Johnson than we're giving him credit for. He's coming off of a big-time bowl win against NC State, which is promising, but I do think that there is still so much untapped potential where 2 years from now, we are talking about Kansas State maybe getting a first-round bye in the Big 12 as Big 12 winners, maybe even being a top 5 team in college football. There is a lot of optimism with Avery Johnson and a good reason why he's starting in 2024. Another quarterback shown the door, Dylan Gabriel, because Jackson Arnold, that was the quarterback that Brent Venables picked. And now it's time for Venables to run his offense in a new era of Oklahoma football. There's the recency bias. I get it. It comes out all the time. I'm going to come out and be just completely blank with you. Jackson Arnold sucked. In the bowl game, the Alamo Bowl, he sucked. I don't worry about it. I don't have any concern or recollection or any upside or thought process. It's a bowl game. I can live with it. I can live with the interceptions. I can live with the turnovers. I can live with the ill-timed throws because they're all correctable. This is not a kid who's throwing it 55 yards downfield and either connecting or throwing a pick. This is a guy whose timing is a little bit off. His footwork is a little askew. And at the same time, the way that I view this process is if you get a guy like Jackson Arnold giving you enough of a baseline to say, here, we're good. This is what I need to work on. These are my positives. These are my negatives. Let's move forward and hope for the best and expect us to have bountiful results in the SEC. I think that you're okay. Again, they added in the number one wide receiver in Deion Burks this offseason. I like Seth Luttrell as the offensive coordinator. Wouldn't be a fan of him anywhere else, but I do think that they conversations about what is the offensive consistencies and same kind of dialect is going to not differ that much. That should help out Arnold a lot. He's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. And I will not be shocked if 2025, we're talking about Oklahoma, and it's not their defense that's carrying weight. It's their offense with the new offensive line and Arnold at the helm, having the headlines take over as maybe this is the year where the Sooners strike. Next up, South Carolina's Lenor Sellers. How many of you have heard this name? Probably only the college football blue bloods. And even then, I would say some of you were even a little bit turned off. But have you noticed that South Carolina did literally almost nothing when it came to adding in a proven commodity at quarterback? Well, that was because they had a lot of high hope in Lenor Sellers. They thought at one point if Spencer Rattler were to leave last season and go to the NFL, they were okay giving the ball to a 6'3", 230-pound quarterback that has a little bit of an emulation to that of KJ Jefferson. And now you add in a guy who can play like KJ Jefferson. He's got a good arm. He's got mobility. He has the elusiveness to evade pressure behind the line of scrimmage. And he's really hard to tackle in space. That should be enough to give you I would say optimism in Columbia. I won't say that you need to be thinking of college football playoff or making it to Atlanta, but 8-4, you've already done it before. You can't do it again? I think absolutely you can. Sellers is a quarterback that I am willing to hitch my wagon to. They added in a few transfers at the wide receiver position in South Carolina this offseason. I would say this is one of those quarterbacks that maybe the record won't speak the volume of what he did. Oh, look at that. Last year's quarterback, Spencer Rattler, had the same type of problem. Next up, Alakai Nelson of Boise State. Another intriguing name because if he was a number one quarterback coming out of USC, and then he realizes, oh, Miller Moss is going to be running the show. I got to leave. And now he's going to Boise State. Spencer Danielson is in need of a quarterback. His quarterback, Taylon Green, just left for Arkansas. And you realize this is a team that's really well put together defensively. Their offensive line is returning 4 of its 5 starters. They've added in a few wide receiver transfers. They've done the pieces so far to where in a college football playoff era where you're going to have a team from the group of 5 represented, Boise State's got to be a front runner. They absolutely should. The way that their offense was humming down the stretch and with what you bring back with Danielson, it wasn't my favorite hire of the offseason, but you could have done worse. And I do think that when you look at a place such as Boise State, there is a lot of reason to believe that he could end up being, I would say, at least a run-of-the-mill type quarterback. Nothing that you want to write home about, but definitely one that you could say, all right, moving forward, we feel pretty good. 2 more names for you. Number 1, MJ Morris at Maryland. Talia Tagovailoa, gone. Finally, NCAA said, suck it. We don't really care. You got to go to the NFL. College football hates us anyways. And so now they added a quarterback from NC State that at one point was a 4-star, was viewed as the future for this offense. Robert and I comes in. They lean to Brennan Armstrong. He plays 3 games. He then says, I think what's best for me is to continue my red shirt. Then leaves this offseason, has 3 years of eligibility left. There's something about his game that really stands out, whether it's his elusiveness behind the pocket to evade pressures, whether it's going to an offense headlined by a guy that's worked with both Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, whether it be with an offense that probably relies heavily on running more than passing. Maybe that's what it is. But I just think that when you look at the Terps, this is such a big year for them. And they went out and they added in a quarterback on purpose that they thought had intriguing upside. Morris provides that. And I think if you were to start this past season, the entire year in Raleigh, you would have seen it. But now he gets to go up to College Park. Now he gets to hopefully be the reason why the Terps are talking about being a dark horse in the likes of the college football playoff, and more importantly, a dark horse in the Big Ten. Last but certainly not least, USC's Miller Moss. So Miller Moss gets the job for the Holiday Bowl because Caleb Williams opts out. Anybody remember what was happening during that time? USC was openly targeting quarterbacks via the portal. They had Will Howard in for a visit. There were conversations of potentially you adding in Washington State's Cam Ward. And then Miller Moss proceeds to set a Holiday Bowl record of 6 passing touchdowns and over 300 passing yards to where Lincoln Riley goes in the press conference and says, yeah, it's going to be really hard for us to bring in a transfer quarterback at this point. He's good. He has waited the last 2 years to get on the field. 6'2", impeccable footwork. They do have an emerging offensive talent. I know they lose some pieces like Taj Washington and Brendan Rice, but they still have a guy like Zachariah Branch coming in. They've had a relationship for the last 2 years. Offensively, I trust more people with my kids that are hypothetical than I trust quarterbacks with Lincoln Riley. He's that well adapted to understanding the position. It's very challenging to say that you cannot expect monumental results for a quarterback like Moss in this style of offense. But those are the quarterbacks I think are going to be set for breakout seasons in 2024. Miller Moss at USC, MJ Morris from Maryland, Boise State's Alakai Nelson, Lenor Sellers at South Carolina, Oklahoma's Jackson Arnold, Kansas State's Avery Johnson, Cal's Fando Mendoza. I'm telling you, circle this one. If you are a bettor and are trying to get a little bit of extra cash for the holiday season, this is a guy who I do think in time can lead his team to an ACC title. Maybe it's 2024 for all we know. Next up, Tennessee's Nico Iamaleava, and last but certainly not least, Garrett Nuss from LSU. Don't be surprised if one of these 7 quarterbacks is leading their team to a college football playoff, and of those 7 or 8, 2 or 3 actually can lead their team to a national title next offseason. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It, and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.